Welcome to World Information HD, the channel where hidden treasures and rare coins come to life. In today's video, we're counting down the top 10 most valuable rare USA wheat pennies, dimes, and nickels worth millions of dollars. These tiny pieces of metal have shocked collectors around the world with their unbelievable auction prices. From forgotten jars of change to record-breaking finds, you won't believe how much some of these coins are really worth. So get ready to check your pocket change. Your next coin could make you a millionaire. Today's video, we're uncovering the incredible story of the 1941 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny, a simple-looking copper coin that could secretly be worth thousands of dollars. If you have an old jar of pennies sitting somewhere at home, this is the video that might just make you dig them out tonight. Because that one coin you overlooked could be hiding a fortune. So sit tight, hit that like button, and let's dive deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American history. Let's take a trip back to the year 1941, a year that changed the world. America was on the edge of joining World War II. Factories were booming, soldiers were preparing, and copper was becoming one of the most important metals of the time. Amidst all this, millions of Lincoln wheat pennies were minted, but not all of them were the same. Some came with small but remarkable differences, details that collectors today go absolutely crazy for. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is part of the beloved wheat cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. These coins are easily recognized by their reverse design, two simple wheat stalks arching on either side, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Above, the words E pluribus unum remind us of the nation's unity. On the obverse, or front side, stands Abraham Lincoln, his portrait based on the design by sculptor Victor David Brenner. It was one of the most enduring and iconic coin designs in U.S. history. Now, the no-mint mark version of the 1941 penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike pennies from Denver, which have a D mark, or San Francisco, marked with an S, coins made in Philadelphia carry no mint mark at all. That's why this version is called the 1941 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny. But here's where it gets fascinating. Not every coin came out perfectly. Some had small errors, unusual die markings, and minting defects that turned ordinary cents into extraordinary collector's items. Imagine this: a penny that cost just 1 cent to make, now potentially worth thousands because of a tiny imperfection in the way it was struck. That's the magic of coin collecting. Each of these mistakes tells a story, a frozen moment from the minting process that can never be repeated again. So, what makes the 1941 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny so special today? First, its age and historical connection to World War II make it a classic collector's item. The coin was struck using 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the traditional alloy used before the wartime metal shortages forced changes in the early 1940s. Every 1941 penny is a small piece of pre-war America, a symbol of resilience and craftsmanship before the U.S. shifted to steel cents in 1943. Next, we have to talk about condition. The value of any old penny depends heavily on its grade. Circulated coins, the ones that have been used in everyday transactions, usually show wear on Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and the wheat stalks on the reverse. The letters might appear slightly flattened, and the surface can lose its original red shine. But uncirculated examples, coins that were stored safely and never used, can still have their bright copper luster, crisp details, and sharp lines. These are the coins that make collectors' hearts race. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use a scale from 1 to 70 to rate coins. A 1941 penny graded in the high mint state range, say, MS65 or higher, can be worth hundreds, sometimes even thousands, depending on eye appeal, color, and rarity. Now, let's talk about color, because that's another fascinating factor. You might notice that some old pennies look bright red, while others are brown or even a deep chocolate tone. Coin graders classify these as red RD, red-brown RB, and brown BN. A red example means it has retained its original copper brilliance, something very rare after more than 80 years. Red-brown means some of the color has faded, and brown means it's fully toned over time. The redder the penny, the higher the potential value. Collectors also look for unique errors and varieties among 1941 Lincoln pennies. One of the most famous is the double die error, where the design appears slightly duplicated, especially noticeable on the date, the words Liberty or In God We Trust. This happens when the die used to strike the coin was misaligned during production. Such coins are incredibly valuable because they're so rare. Another popular variety is the repunched mint mark. Though not in this no mint mark version, it appears in others like the 1941D. This occurs when the mint mark was punched more than once in slightly different positions. These errors were common before the mint fully automated its processes in the 1940s, and they add another layer of intrigue for collectors. Beyond errors, the 1941 no mint mark penny also carries emotional and historical value. It represents an era before America's full entry into World War II, a time of uncertainty yet hope. Millions of these pennies would have passed through the hands of American families saving every coin, schoolchildren buying war bonds, and workers earning wages in factories producing military supplies. Holding one today is like holding a tangible piece of history, one that connects us to that defining moment in time. Now, if you're wondering how many of these coins were made, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 887 million 1941 Lincoln wheat pennies. That's a massive number. But remember, quantity doesn't always mean low value. Over decades, many of these coins were lost, damaged, or melted down. Finding one in pristine condition today is far rarer than the original mintage suggests. Let's paint a picture. Imagine you stumble upon an old jar of coins at your grandparents' house. You start digging through and notice a penny from 1941 with no mint mark. At first, it just seems like another old coin. But under the right light, you see that its surface gleams, the details are sharp, and it has that beautiful red copper color. You take it to a coin dealer, and they carefully inspect it with a magnifying glass. Their eyebrows lift. You suddenly realize you might be holding something truly valuable. Stories like these aren't uncommon in the world of numismatics. People have found rare pennies in pocket change, at flea markets, or hidden away in forgotten boxes. That's the thrill of coin hunting. You never know when a tiny copper coin might change your life. The 1941 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has become one of the most sought-after pre-war cents for collectors. Its blend of age, historical meaning, and potential value makes it irresistible. And when it's in mint condition, untouched by time, it's like owning a time capsule from 84 years ago. Even if you have a circulated one, it's worth keeping. Many collectors start small, learning to identify details like mint marks, die varieties, and grading. Over time, they build impressive collections, and every coin tells its own story. Who knows, maybe one of your coins could one day be worth thousands too. Now, here's something that surprises many people. Even though the 1941 no mint mark penny was made in large numbers, certain examples have achieved incredible prices at auction. Why? Because of their near-perfect preservation. Coins that were stored in original mint rolls or carefully handled can look almost brand new even after 8 decades. When such coins appear at major auctions, collectors compete fiercely, driving prices to jaw-dropping levels. The highest quality examples graded MS-68 or higher are extremely scarce. The coin's gleaming copper-red surface, sharp strike, and unblemished texture make it a masterpiece of minting. For such specimens, collectors have been known to pay astonishing amounts. It's unbelievable to think that a small 1-cent coin from 1941 could hold so much historical significance, beauty, and value. From its humble origin in Philadelphia to the hands of modern collectors, this penny has traveled through time, surviving wars, economic shifts, and generations. So, if you ever come across a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, take a moment to look closely. Check the details, inspect its color, and handle it gently. You might just be looking at one of the finest surviving pieces of American history, a coin that proves even the smallest objects can carry enormous worth. Happy collecting. Welcome to World Information HD, the home of rare and fascinating discoveries about coins, currency, and the hidden treasures waiting in your pocket change. In today's video, we're diving deep into the story of one of the most mysterious and collectible coins ever made, the United States of America 1942 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny. At first glance, it might look like just another old copper coin. But when you look closer, you'll realize this little penny carries with it a fascinating piece of American history, a few hidden secrets from wartime America, and the potential to be worth thousands of dollars if you happen to find one in just the right condition. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny belongs to a generation of coins that were minted during one of the most turbulent times in history, the Second World War. In those years, the U.S. Mint was under immense pressure. Copper was needed for the war effort to produce ammunition, shell casings, and military equipment. That meant even the humble penny became part of the nation's battle plan. Though the major change from copper to steel didn't officially happen until 1943, the year 1942 stands as a fascinating bridge, a moment where the mint began preparing for that drastic transition. And that's what makes the 1942 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny so intriguing. The no-mint mark on the coin simply means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike other facilities such as Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark on its coins during that era. Millions of these pennies rolled off the presses in 1942, but here's where it gets interesting. Despite the large mintage, very few remain today in pristine, uncirculated condition. Time, handling, and circulation have worn most of them down, making those that survive in perfect shape incredibly rare and valuable. The obverse, or the front side, of the coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's calm yet determined expression represents not only his legacy but also America's resilience during a time of war. Just above his head, the word Liberty is stamped with pride, and to the right, the date 1942 glimmers, a quiet reminder of the year the nation was preparing for an uncertain future. Turn it over, and you'll see the classic wheat ears on the reverse, simple, elegant, and symbolic of America's growth and prosperity. Between them stands the inscription, 1 cent, and United States of America, with the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, at the top, meaning, out of many one. Every detail on this coin tells a story of unity, endurance, and hope, all wrapped into a small piece of copper that once passed from hand to hand during wartime America. Now, what makes the 1942 no-mint Mark penny particularly fascinating to collectors is the variety of conditions and eras that exist. Some of these pennies were struck using slightly worn dies, causing doubling effects on letters or numbers. Others were struck with off-center impressions, clipped planchets, or even struck through grease, all of which add to their uniqueness and collector appeal. If you happen to find one with such an error, its value can skyrocket dramatically. Another key factor is its metal composition. The 1942 penny was still made mostly of copper, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that warm reddish-brown glow. But because the mint was experimenting with alternative materials in preparation for the upcoming 1943 steel cent, a few extremely rare 1942 pattern coins exist that were struck on experimental planchets made of different alloys. These are almost priceless to advanced collectors, though most of them reside in museum collections or the hands of elite numismatists. So, how can you tell if your 1942 penny might be valuable? The first step is to look at its condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, perfect coin. If your penny still shows sharp details on Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat, and the wheat stalks on the back are crisp and unflattened, you could be holding something special. Even a small difference in condition can make a huge difference in price. For example, a heavily circulated 1942 no-mint Mark penny might only be worth a few cents, while one in brilliant uncirculated condition, glowing with its original mint luster, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And if it happens to have a rare minting error or exceptionally high grade from a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, the value could climb even higher. But it's not just about condition, it's about rarity. The truth is, most of the 1942 pennies were used and reused for decades, tucked into drawers, piggy banks, and old jars. Finding one that has survived untouched for more than 80 years is like finding a time capsule from another era. Collectors love coins that tell stories, and every scratch or shine on a 1942 penny has seen the passage of time. Maybe it bought a loaf of bread in wartime America, maybe it was tucked away in a soldier's pocket, or maybe it was saved by a child who believed it would bring good luck. Collectors often say that the Lincoln Wheat Penny series is one of the best introductions to coin collecting. It's simple, it's historical, and every coin in the series carries a piece of American heritage. The 1942 penny, in particular, captures the transition between peace and war, between the old world of copper and the new world of steel. There's also a fascinating psychological element behind why coins like this fascinate collectors. When we hold an old coin, we're touching history, something tangible that connects us to people who lived through moments we only read about in books. The 1942 Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of metal, it's a survivor of an era that shaped the modern world. Let's talk about what makes this coin so collectible today. Many people don't realize they might already have one of these hidden in an old coin jar or family collection. The design is iconic, and its copper color makes it stand out from the modern pennies that now have a different alloy. If you find one without a mint mark under the date, that means it was made in Philadelphia. And that's the exact type we're talking about. If you're lucky enough to find one in almost untouched condition, don't rush to clean it. Cleaning coins can actually destroy their collector value by removing the original patina and surface details. Instead, store it carefully in a soft coin holder or capsule and, if possible, get it graded professionally. That way, you'll have an official record of its authenticity and quality. Now, one of the rarest and most exciting types of 1942 Lincoln cents are the so-called proof coins. These were specially struck for collectors with polished dies and extra care, resulting in a mirror-like surface and razor-sharp details. If you happen to come across a proof version in pristine condition, you could be sitting on an extremely valuable piece of history. But even beyond the collector market, the 1942 penny remains a beloved part of American numismatic culture. It reminds us of a time when every cent mattered, when coins were made of real copper and carried weight in both metal and meaning. From farmers to factory workers, soldiers to schoolchildren, everyone in 1942 would have touched one of these pennies. It was a symbol of effort, sacrifice, and hope during dark times. As the years rolled on, and newer designs replaced the wheat penny in 1959, these older coins slowly disappeared from circulation. Many were melted down, lost, or forgotten, making each surviving one a relic of a bygone age. For collectors and historians alike, finding a well-preserved 1942 Lincoln penny feels like rediscovering a piece of American soul. So the next time you're going through an old collection, cleaning out a drawer, or checking change from a vintage store or antique shop, take a close look. You might find that simple brown penny with 1942 stamped on it and no mint mark beneath. It might not shine like gold, but its story, history, and value could surprise you in ways you never imagined. And for those wondering how much such a coin could be worth today, well, it all depends on its condition, rarity, and grading. But one thing's for sure, a flawless, uncirculated 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, preserved in perfect mint condition, has been known to sell for as much as $22,333. So always keep an eye on your change, because history might just be hiding in the palm of your hand. Welcome to World Information HD, the channel where we explore the hidden treasures of American coinage and uncover the surprising stories behind some of the most valuable coins ever made. In today's video, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and sought-after coins in U.S. history, the 1944 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. This small copper coin might look ordinary at first glance, but it carries within it a story of wartime confusion, minting mysteries, and collector obsession that has kept the coin world buzzing for decades. So sit back, relax, and get ready to journey into the incredible tale of how a humble 1-cent coin from 1944 could turn into a collectible worth thousands of dollars today. The year 1944 was one of turmoil and transformation. The world was at war. World War II had consumed the globe, and every resource, from steel to copper, was vital to the war effort. The United States Mint had already made a bold change just a year earlier, in 1943, when it stopped using copper for pennies. Instead, the Mint struck the Lincoln cent using zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for military needs. Those steel pennies from 1943, which look silver gray and magnetic, became an instant oddity in American pockets. But by 1944, the Mint reversed the decision. Copper was once again used for penny production, though not in the same way as before. To save resources, the Mint melted down spent shell casings from the war to create the bronze alloy used for 1944 pennies. That's right, your 1944 Lincoln cent could very well have been made from recycled ammunition fired in the heat of battle. This fascinating link to history already gives the 1944 penny an emotional and patriotic significance. But that's just the beginning of its story. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny was produced in massive quantities. The Philadelphia Mint, which struck the no-mint mark version, produced over 1.4 billion of them. Denver and San Francisco mints also struck their own versions, identified by the D and S mint marks below the date. Because of the huge number minted, most 1944 cents were ordinary pocket change. Yet, among these billions of coins, there are rare variations and minting errors that can transform a simple penny into a coin collector's dream. Let's look at the details that make some 1944 no-mint mark pennies incredibly special. The standard 1944 penny was made of bronze, about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. But during the transition from steel back to copper, a few steel planchets from 1943 accidentally got stuck in the minting machines and were struck with the 1944 design. These 1944 steel cents are some of the most valuable coins in the entire Lincoln cent series, worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, even among the bronze coins, certain 1944 no-mint mark pennies stand out. Variations in die strikes, doubling errors, off-center strikes, and other minting mistakes can add immense value. For example, a 1944 penny showing a double die on the obverse, meaning the lettering or Lincoln's features appear slightly doubled due to a die misalignment, can be worth hundreds or even thousands depending on condition. Collectors also prize coins in mint state condition, meaning they look nearly untouched, with full luster and sharp details. A brilliant uncirculated 1944 no-mint mark penny can command high prices, especially if it's certified by grading authorities like PCGS or NGC. But what makes this coin truly captivating is how it bridges the gap between history, craftsmanship, and luck. Imagine a coin struck in the middle of a global war, made from spent shell casings, handled by soldiers returning home, and passed through the hands of Americans who lived through one of history's most defining eras. Each 1944 Lincoln cent tells a story of resilience and national pride. The design of the coin itself adds to its timeless appeal. The obverse features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. His initials, VDB, appear subtly below Lincoln's shoulder on the reverse in some earlier issues, but for 1944 the design had matured into one of America's most recognizable coins. On the reverse, two wheat ears frame the words 1 cent, giving rise to the term wheat penny. Above it reads E pluribus unum, the Latin phrase meaning out of many one, symbolizing unity, a perfect motto for a wartime coin. When examining your own 1944 penny, pay attention to a few key details. First, make sure it's genuine bronze, not steel. If it's magnetic, you might just have a 1944 steel penny, one of the rarest coins in circulation. If it's not magnetic, it's bronze, but its value can still vary widely based on condition and grade. Look for crisp edges, a sharp strike, and minimal wear on Lincoln's cheek and jawline. Collectors use the Sheldon grading scale, which ranges from 1, poor, to 70, perfect mint state. A well-preserved 1944 penny in grades MS65 or higher can already fetch impressive prices. Some examples with red luster, a term used for unoxidized copper that retains its original color, are especially desirable. There are also fascinating error varieties worth knowing about. One rare variation is the 1944 D/S, penny, where a Denver mint mark was struck over a San Francisco mint mark due to a reused die. While this doesn't apply to the no mint mark version from Philadelphia, it adds excitement to the 1944 penny series as a whole. Even within the no mint mark coins, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunch dates, and lamination errors can make your penny worth much more than face value. So if you happen to find a 1944 penny in an old collection, don't dismiss it as ordinary pocket change. It could be a hidden treasure. Another thing that drives the fascination with 1944 pennies is their accessibility. Because so many were produced, collectors of all ages can start with this coin. It's often a beginner's first vintage coin, sparking curiosity that leads to a lifelong passion for numismatics. The 1944 no mint mark Lincoln cent represents a bridge between common and rare, between everyday history and unexpected fortune. Over the years, thousands of these coins have been discovered in change jars, family keepsakes, and even dusty attics. Some collectors report finding nearly mint condition 1944 pennies tucked away in rolls, preserved for decades. Every find brings a rush of excitement, the feeling that you've just touched a piece of living history. The emotional value of this coin cannot be overstated. It reminds Americans of a time when every small act contributed to a greater cause, when even pennies played a part in wartime industry. That's what makes the 1944 penny so meaningful to collectors. It's more than money, it's a memory minted in copper. Today, grading services and online marketplaces have made it easier than ever to authenticate and sell valuable 1944 pennies. High-grade examples certified by PCGS or NGC are often auctioned for hundreds, or even thousands. The coin's combination of historical significance, collector interest, and relative rarity in top condition drives its consistent demand. So, if you have an old jar of coins at home, take a moment to sift through it. Look carefully at every Lincoln wheat penny you find, especially those dated 1944. Examine the color, check for the absence of a mint mark, and note any unusual features. You never know, that coin you've overlooked for years might be worth far more than you imagine. And now, for those wondering just how much a 1944 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny can be worth, the answer might surprise you. While most circulated examples are worth a few cents to a few dollars, pristine uncirculated specimens, particularly those with strong red luster and no signs of wear, can reach astonishing values. In recent years, collectors and coin experts have paid incredible amounts for the finest examples. Some rare variations, with perfect preservation and historical appeal, have sold for premium prices at major auctions. So here's the figure you've been waiting for. A top-graded, flawless 1944 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has been valued at an unbelievable $19,863. That's right, a single copper penny from 1944. A coin that may have once jingled in the pocket of an American during World War II could now be worth nearly $20,000. So, the next time you come across a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, don't let its humble appearance fool you. Behind that small coin lies a story of American history, wartime resilience, and numismatic wonder. You might just be holding a treasure that connects the past to the present, and proves that even the smallest coins can hold the biggest surprises. Thanks for watching World Information HD, where every coin tells a story. Welcome to World Information HD, where every coin tells a story and every cent can reveal a treasure beyond imagination. Today, we dive deep into the fascinating world of one of America's classic coins, the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark. A coin that, at first glance, might look ordinary, but for those who truly understand its legacy, rarity, and hidden details, it's a piece of American history worth discovering. So stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll learn why this small piece of copper could still make you a fortune today. The 1957 Lincoln wheat penny is part of a proud chapter in U.S. coinage. It belongs to the last generation of the iconic wheat pennies, those beloved cents that carried the twin stalks of wheat on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and the American dream. First struck in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, these coins became a symbol of national pride. By 1957, The wheat penny had already seen more than 4 decades of circulation and historical change, from the Great Depression to World War II, yet it remained a staple in every American pocket. What makes the 1957 no-mint mark penny particularly interesting is that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the oldest mint in the United States, which traditionally did not place a mint mark on its coins at that time. So, if you look at your 1957 penny and don't see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, you're looking at the Philadelphia version. But don't let the lack of a mint mark fool you. Even though millions were produced, there's more than meets the eye when it comes to value and collectability. Let's explore what makes this coin so special. The 1957 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny was struck in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Each coin weighs about 3.11 grams and measures 19 millimeters across. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust." At the top, Liberty, to the left, and the date, 1957, to the right. The reverse carries Brenner's original wheat stalk design, framing the words, 1 cent, United States of America, and E pluribus unum. But what sets this coin apart from the billions of regular cents produced throughout the 20th century are its subtle variations, striking conditions, and the survival of near-perfect examples. In circulation, most 1957 pennies appear worn and dull. After all, they've been around for over 6 decades. However, when found in pristine, mint-state condition, especially with original red copper luster, their value skyrockets. Now, let's break down how much your 1957 no-mint mark penny could actually be worth. A heavily circulated penny, the kind you might still find in an old jar or a forgotten drawer, is typically worth about 2 to 5 cents. Not bad for a coin that's been out of production for more than 65 years. However, as the condition improves, so does its price. Coins graded, extremely fine, can bring anywhere from 20 cents to $1, depending on their sharpness and shine. The real excitement begins when we move into uncirculated grades, coins that have never been used and still retain that fiery red brilliance from the day they were struck. In mint state, MS condition, especially grades like MS 65 or higher, the 1957 no-mint mark penny can command impressive prices. Collectors pay high premiums for coins that show vibrant color, no scratches, and full definition on Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks. What many collectors don't realize is that certain 1957 pennies have fascinating minting errors that make them even more valuable. Some examples show doubled I obverse, where parts of the design, like the date or lettering, appear doubled due to a slight misalignment in the minting process. Others have off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks. These kinds of errors can turn an ordinary penny into a unique collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on rarity and visual appeal. For instance, a sharply defined 1957 no-mint mark penny with deep red toning and minimal marks can easily reach over $100 or more. But when you move into near-perfect condition, graded MS 67 or MS 68, you enter the world of serious collectors and rare auctions. Such coins often end up in private collections, rarely seen again, which only increases their desirability. Now imagine this: a simple coin, once used to buy candy or newspapers in the 1950s, now commanding bids in the hundreds or even thousands. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal, it's about the story behind it, the preservation of history, and the thrill of finding something extraordinary hidden in plain sight. The late 1950s were a transformative period for America. Television was booming, rock and roll was changing youth culture, and the economy was thriving. The Lincoln wheat penny, however, was nearing the end of its life. By 1959, the U.S. Mint replaced the wheat design with the Lincoln Memorial reverse to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. That means 1957 was one of the last years this classic design ever rolled off the presses, giving it added sentimental and collectible value. If you happen to come across a 1957 penny, it's worth taking a close look. Hold it under good light, check for that bright copper glow, and inspect every detail. Even small differences in luster, strike, or toning can make a world of difference. And if you spot something unusual, a double number, a smooth edge, or a weakly struck word, it might be an error variety worth sending to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. These certified grades can dramatically increase your coin's market value. Collectors also love to build Lincoln Wheat penny sets that include one coin from each year and mint. The 1957 no-mint mark penny fits beautifully into such a collection because it represents the final phase of the wheat penny era, a piece of nostalgia for those who remember when a single cent actually bought something. It's incredible how this tiny coin reflects America's evolution, from a young nation healing from war to a superpower leading the world. Every penny from that era passed through countless hands, from farmers to factory workers, from soldiers returning home to children saving for their first toy. Each carries invisible fingerprints of history, connecting us to generations before. When you hold a 1957 wheat penny, you're not just holding copper. You're holding a story of Lincoln's legacy, of American craftsmanship, and of a time when coins were built to last a lifetime. Whether you find it in an old jar, inherit it from a grandparent, or discover it while searching through pocket change, it's a reminder that even the smallest treasures can hold the greatest value. So, next time you see a 1957 penny without a mint mark, don't overlook it. Examine its shine, check its condition, and imagine the journey it's taken across decades. You never know. It might just be the coin that changes your fortune. And now, here's the exciting part. Almost 1957 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat pennies are worth only a few cents to a few dollars depending on their grade. There have been rare cases where near-flawless examples, preserved in mint condition with exceptional luster, have reached astonishing auction prices. The most remarkable among them sold for an incredible $15,773. Yes, you heard that right. $15,773 for a single 1-cent coin. That's the beauty of numismatics. A world where history, rarity, and perfection combine to turn copper into gold. So keep your eyes open, your magnifying glass ready, and your passion alive. Because even in a pile of old pennies, the next great discovery could be waiting for you. And as always, stay tuned to World Information HD, where we uncover the hidden treasures that time forgot. Welcome to World Information HD, the channel where history, mystery, and money collide. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating stories hidden inside your pocket change, the United States of America 1981 P Mint Mark Roosevelt 1 dime. You might think a dime is just 10 cents, but what if I told you that one of these small silver-colored coins could be worth thousands of dollars today? Yes, collectors and coin enthusiasts across the world are hunting for this exact dime, and in this video, you'll learn exactly why. The Roosevelt dime has been part of American coinage since 1946, honoring the legacy of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. After his death in 1945, the U.S. Mint wanted to commemorate his achievements, especially his fight against polio and his leadership during World War II. That's why his face replaced the Mercury design that had been used since 1916. The Roosevelt dime quickly became a symbol of change and strength, but few could have imagined that decades later, certain versions of this small coin would become so rare and valuable. Now, let's travel back to 1981. This was a year of transition for the U.S. Mint. Technology was advancing, minting processes were changing, and small details were sometimes overlooked. That's where our story begins. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the letter P, was producing millions of dimes that year, hundreds of millions, to be exact. Most of them were ordinary, perfectly struck coins intended for everyday use. But among those millions, a handful were created with unique characteristics that made them incredibly valuable today. One of the first things collectors notice about the 1981 P dime is the mint mark itself. This was only the second year that the Philadelphia Mint used a P mint mark on dimes, which makes the coin stand out historically. Before 1980, Philadelphia coins didn't carry any mint mark at all. So when you see that little P on the right side of Roosevelt's neck, it's a marker of a new era in minting. But even within that change, certain dimes were struck with subtle differences, slight errors, unusual finishes, and unique die characteristics that make them extremely desirable for collectors. One of the most exciting types of errors found in the 1981 P. Roosevelt dime is the double die strike. This happens when the coin's design is imprinted twice slightly off from the first strike. You might notice doubled letters in the word Liberty or around the motto, "In God We Trust." Sometimes, even Roosevelt's profile shows a faint shadow effect, almost like a ghost image. These errors are like the fingerprints of history, making each coin one of a kind. The sharper and clearer the doubling, the higher the value. Another kind of rare variety comes from misaligned dies. This occurs when the coin blank and the dies used to strike it are not perfectly centered. As a result, one side of the coin may look normal while the other appears off-center or stretched toward the rim. Collectors absolutely love these because they're not supposed to exist in circulation, yet they do, and when found in mint state condition, they command impressive prices. The condition of the coin is everything. Most dimes that have circulated show signs of wear, scratches, dull surfaces, or loss of luster. But when you find one that's still shining bright, with all its fine details intact, it's a treasure. Coins graded MS or mint state by professional services like PCGS or NGC are valued exponentially higher. A 1981 P dime in mint state 67 or 68 condition can easily attract serious collector attention, especially if it displays sharp details and a brilliant finish. There are also special proofs made in 1981. Proof coins are struck using highly polished dies and are meant for collectors, not for spending. However, a few rare cases have surfaced where proof coins escaped into general circulation, either by mistake or through mishandling. If you ever happen to find a 1981 dime that has an unusually mirror-like shine and frosted details, it might be a proof coin. Even more thrilling are the no-S proof errors, although those were primarily from the San Francisco Mint. Still, in numismatics, surprises are everywhere. But the 1981 P dime's true story of value lies not only in its design or condition, it's in its rarity and demand. Collectors are always on the lookout for transitional years in U.S. coinage, and 1981 was a transition point between the traditional minting style and the modern methods we see today. It was also one of the last years before the mint began using computer-controlled engraving systems, meaning small variations were more common. Let's not forget that the composition of the dime had changed decades earlier, too. Before 1965, dimes were made of 90% silver. After that, the mint switched to a copper nickel-clad composition, which is what the 1981 dime is made of. However, even though it doesn't contain silver, its numismatic value can far exceed its metal value when it's a rare variety or a high-grade specimen. In other words, the real worth lies in the story, the scarcity, and the collector's passion. Imagine this scenario. You're sorting through a handful of old change, maybe coins from your parents' jar or a forgotten drawer, and you notice a 1981 dime with a little P mint mark. You think it's just pocket change, right? But what if it's one of those rare mint errors? What if it's a double die or a nearly perfect uncirculated example? You could be holding something worth more than you could ever expect from a simple 10-cent coin. Even today, collectors pay close attention to small details such as rim thickness, die rotation, strike sharpness, and surface tone. Some coins display toning, a natural color change caused by age and environment, which can actually increase a coin's desirability if it looks appealing. A dime with vibrant rainbow toning can fetch a premium far beyond its face value. Now, let's talk about grading. Professional coin grading is the key to understanding value. The grading scale runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin, flawless under magnification. A 1981 P. Roosevelt dime graded at MS 68 is a near-perfect piece of American minting history. These are extremely scarce because most coins struck for circulation have tiny imperfections right from the start. Finding a dime that survived over 4 decades without a single blemish is like discovering a diamond in the dust. Many collectors have paid thousands of dollars for such examples at major coin auctions. Prices fluctuate with market trends, collector demand, and even the coin's eye appeal. But one thing is certain, the The 1981p dime remains one of those modern coins that surprises everyone by turning a simple everyday object into a prized collectible. The beauty of coin collecting is that you never know where the next treasure will come from. It might be sitting in your pocket, lying under a couch cushion, or waiting in an old coin jar at the back of a cabinet. That's what makes it so exciting, the thrill of discovery. Each coin tells a story, and each story connects us to a specific time in history. The 1981p dime represents an era when America's minting technology was advancing, but human craftsmanship still left its mark. As you continue to watch our videos, remember that knowledge is the real currency. The more you learn about coins, the better your chances are of spotting the hidden gems that others overlook. Always check your change carefully, especially older dimes with unique characteristics. Because even the smallest coin can hold an extraordinary secret. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the potential value of the 1981p Roosevelt dime. Among the thousands of coins analyzed by collectors and grading services, one exceptional example was found in pristine condition, showcasing an extraordinary strike, flawless surfaces, and beautiful natural luster. That coin was valued and sold for an incredible $10,000. Yes, you heard it right. $10,000 for a single Roosevelt dime from 1981 with AP mint mark. So, before you spend your next dime, take a closer look. You might just be holding a piece of numismatic history that's worth far more than you can imagine. Thank you for watching World Information HD, your ultimate destination for discovering the hidden treasures of the past. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a story about rare and valuable coins that could be sitting right in your pocket. Welcome back to the World Information HD channel, where we dive deep into the hidden treasures of American history through coins that many of us pass by every single day without realizing their incredible worth. Today, we're going to explore one of the most fascinating and surprisingly valuable coins that has ever circulated quietly in our pockets and drawers. The 1988 mint mark Jefferson nickel Monticello 5-cent coin. Yes, you heard that right. This small, everyday 5-cent piece, minted in Denver in 1988, has a story to tell. A story of design, rarity, minting errors, and collector passion that turned an ordinary nickel into something extraordinary. Stay tuned until the end of this video because you might be sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. Let's begin with a little background. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and has remained one of the longest-running coin series in U.S. history. The design features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse, and his famous home, Monticello, on the reverse. Felix Schlag, a German-American sculptor, was the artist behind this classic design. His goal was to create something timeless, something that truly reflected Jefferson's intellectual depth and architectural passion. Now, fast forward to the year 1988, an era of big changes, big dreams, and economic transformation in America. The Denver Mint, known by its D mint mark, was producing millions of Jefferson nickels that year. Most of them, of course, were ordinary coins used in daily commerce. However, among those millions, there were a few that stood out, not because of their shine, but because of their subtle minting errors and incredible condition. The 1988 D Jefferson nickel became special primarily because of its variations and the extremely small number of flawless examples that survived over time. Coin collectors, also known as numismatists, have a keen eye for detail. They can spot differences invisible to most people. And when it comes to coins like the 1988 D nickel, those details make all the difference. Let's talk about what to look for. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll see Jefferson's portrait facing left, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1988. Just next to the date, you'll notice a small D mint mark, indicating it was minted in Denver. On the reverse, there's Monticello, Jefferson's home, with the words, "E pluribus unum, Monticello, 5 cents," and United States of America. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1988 D nickels are created equal. There are certain varieties and errors that make some worth much more than others. One of the most notable types collectors seek out is the full steps designation. This refers to the lines on the steps of Monticello. When these lines appear perfectly sharp and well-defined without any wear, the coin is considered a full steps Jefferson nickel. These are extremely rare, especially for coins minted in the 1980s, because most were struck with worn dies or entered circulation quickly. Another key factor that determines the coin's value is the quality of its strike and condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, known as the Sheldon scale. A coin graded MS-60 or higher is considered mint state, meaning it has never been circulated and retains its original luster. Coins graded MS-65 and above, especially with full steps, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Collectors also look for unique minting errors. Some 1988 D nickels showed die cracks, off-center strikes, or doubled dies, where certain letters or numbers appear doubled due to a slight misalignment during the minting process. These errors, though rare, can multiply a coin's value many times over. Another reason the 1988 D nickel holds a special place in numismatic circles is its transitional importance. The 1980s were a period when the U.S. Mint improved its coin production techniques, moving toward higher quality dies and more efficient presses. However, inconsistencies still occurred. As a result, finding a perfectly struck, uncirculated 1988 D nickel with sharp details is like finding a needle in a haystack. Now, let's imagine the thrill of discovery. Picture this: you open an old coin jar or go through your childhood coin collection, and there it is, a 1988 nickel with that small D below the date. You take a closer look and notice the steps on Monticello are crisp, clear, and complete. You realize it's been sitting there for decades untouched. At first, you might think, it's just 5 cents. But in the eyes of a collector, it's a miniature masterpiece, a survivor from the past that defied time and handling. Let's also not forget the beauty of history behind the Jefferson nickel. Every coin carries a piece of America's story. The Monticello design on the reverse isn't just decorative, it represents Jefferson's vision of balance, democracy, and intellect. He designed Monticello himself, an architectural wonder of its time, reflecting his love for science, philosophy, and art. When you hold this coin, you hold a piece of that legacy. In the world of coin collecting, rarity, condition, and demand form the trinity of value. The 1988 D Jefferson nickel may not be ancient, but it has become a hidden gem because it satisfies all three. Only a few high-grade examples exist with pristine surfaces, deep luster, and full details. Those that have survived without scratches, wear, or discoloration are incredibly scarce. Auction records have revealed surprising numbers. Coins like these, once thought to be common, have shocked collectors and investors alike when they appeared at auction houses and fetched high prices. Many buyers are willing to pay thousands for the right coin, especially if it holds the full steps designation or shows a fascinating mint error. The desire to own a piece of U.S. minting perfection drives collectors to bid aggressively for these coins. So, what can you do if you think you have one of these rare nickels? First, check for the D mint mark under the date. That confirms it was minted in Denver. Then, carefully examine Monticello's steps on the reverse under a magnifying glass or bright light. The sharper and clearer they are, the more valuable your coin could be. Look for any doubling or unusual marks that might indicate a minting error. And finally, consider getting it professionally graded by a reputable grading service such as PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate your coin, give it a grade, and help you determine its true market value. It's truly incredible to think that a coin worth 5 cents can sometimes be worth thousands just because of a small difference in strike quality or preservation. It reminds us how important attention to detail can be. Something as simple as how a coin was minted over 35 years ago can turn it into a collector's dream today. Many people underestimate the potential of everyday coins in circulation. The next time you receive change at a grocery store or go through an old coin roll, take a moment to look closely. That ordinary nickel might just be an extraordinary treasure waiting to be rediscovered. Stories like the 1988 D Jefferson nickel prove that hidden value often lies in plain sight. And let's be honest, there's something magical about coin collecting. It's not just about the money or the rarity, it's about holding history in your hands. Each coin has traveled through time, through countless hands, across generations. The 1988 D nickel connects us to an era of American craftsmanship, the artistry of minting, and the enduring symbol of Jefferson's legacy. So, before you toss that old nickel aside, remember, it could be more than just spare change. It could be a piece of American heritage worth far more than you ever imagined. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced collector, never underestimate the power of curiosity and observation. That's how many collectors have turned pocket change into small fortunes. After all, the stories behind these coins remind us that true value isn't always about face value, it's about rarity, history, and the passion of discovery. And as we conclude this fascinating journey into the world of the 1988 D. Jefferson nickel Monticello 5-cent coin, here's the stunning part you've been waiting for. One of these rare nickels, in the finest condition and full step detail, was once sold for an unbelievable price of $15,773. Yes, that's right, a simple 5-cent piece turned into a small fortune. So keep your eyes open, your coins clean, and your curiosity alive. Because the next valuable treasure might already be sitting in your pocket right now. Thanks for watching World Information HD, where we uncover the hidden wealth of history, one coin at a time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a chance to discover the next rare coin worth a fortune. The year 2000 marked not only the beginning of a new millennium, but also a fascinating chapter in American coin history. Among the many coins minted that year, one particular coin stands out: the United States of America 2000 D. Jefferson nickel Monticello 5-cent. This little piece of metal may seem ordinary at first glance, but for collectors, historians, and treasure hunters, it holds mysteries, unique errors, and unexpected value that can make any enthusiast look twice. Now imagine holding a coin that millions of people have handled, a coin that once jingled in pockets, passed through gas stations, grocery stores, or even vending machines, yet could secretly be worth thousands of dollars today. That's the allure of the 2000 D. Jefferson nickel. While most nickels are worth only their face value, certain varieties of this coin have caught the attention of numismatists for their unique characteristics, errors, and minting anomalies. Let's dive deep into the fascinating story of this coin, its creation, its secrets, and how something so common could transform into a collector's dream. The Jefferson nickel series has a long and rich legacy, beginning in 1938 when it replaced the Buffalo nickel. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the coin features the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, a symbol of democracy, knowledge, and independence. On the reverse side, you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's majestic home in Virginia, beautifully engraved with architectural detail. It's a coin that honors not only a founding father but also one of the greatest thinkers in American history. Fast forward to the year 2000, a time when the Denver Mint was producing millions of nickels for circulation. But among those millions, some coins were struck with imperfections, doubled images, and other rare features that would make them exceptionally valuable today. Collectors began to notice small differences, subtle variations that set certain coins apart from the rest. What makes the 2000 D. Jefferson nickel so intriguing is that it falls at a crossroads in minting history. The U.S. Mint was experimenting with updated striking technology, adjusting pressure levels, and maintaining die quality. But not every coin came out perfectly. These minor changes and inconsistencies gave rise to a few stunning mint errors that are now highly sought after. One of the most notable features that collectors look for is doubling, specifically on the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or "E Pluribus Unum." Under magnification, these letters can appear slightly overlapped or shadowed, creating what experts call a double die error. Finding a clean and sharp example of this error can turn an ordinary 5-cent coin into a small fortune. Another variety that sparks collector interest is the die crack error. Tiny raised lines running across the coin's surface, often appearing near Jefferson's eye or along the rim. These cracks are caused when the minting die itself fractures slightly during production. Though minor, such cracks make the coin unique, since each cracked die leaves its own signature pattern. And then there are the off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank, known as a planchet, isn't properly aligned during the strike. A perfectly centered design is the goal, but when the design shifts slightly off the edge, the result is a one-of-a-kind coin. Some collectors love these because they clearly show the mint's human side, the small mistakes that slip through automated perfection. The 2000 Jefferson nickel also has a special place among collectors because of its condition rarity. While millions were made, finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is much more difficult than it seems. Many of these nickels have been through years of circulation, losing their original shine, suffering from scratches, or showing wear that lowers their grade. But coins that have remained untouched, especially those graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, are incredibly valuable. Imagine finding a coin in your pocket change that gleams under the light, with crisp details on Jefferson's hair, sharp lettering, and a flawless Monticello design. That's the kind of quality that makes collectors' hearts race. High-grade examples of the 2000 nickel can sell for hundreds, sometimes even thousands, depending on the demand and rarity of that particular die variety. But what makes this coin even more special is its connection to American history and symbolism. Jefferson nickels have always represented more than just currency. They tell the story of American progress, from the early years of the Republic to the technological age of the 2000s. Every coin carries traces of its era, from the metal composition to the artistry, giving each one a soul of its own. During the year 2000, the mint was still producing nickels with a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a combination that gave them their distinct silvery appearance. The Denver Mint mark, represented by the small d on the coin's reverse to the right of Monticello, indicates where the coin was struck. These tiny details are what collectors cherish, each mint mark representing a different journey from production to circulation. The 2000 nickel has also drawn attention from treasure hunters who search through rolls of coins from banks or estate collections. They know that even though millions were minted, it only takes one special piece, one flawless example or rare error, to change everything. Stories abound of lucky finders who discovered a rare variation hidden among ordinary change, proving that numismatic treasures still circulate unnoticed in the everyday economy. For those who want to identify whether their 2000 nickel is valuable, there are a few steps to follow. First, check the coin's condition under a bright light. Does it still retain its original luster? Are Jefferson's cheekbones, hair strands, and collar crisp and detailed? Next, examine the lettering closely for doubling, missing letters, or unusual spacing. Look along the rim for cracks, distortions, or incomplete strikes. And finally, inspect the reverse side. Monticello should appear sharp, with defined columns and steps. Collectors often send their coins for professional grading, where experts assess them on a 70-point scale. A coin that receives a grade of MS65 or higher can be considered a gem, nearly flawless with full original shine. Such coins are rare because very few survive decades of handling without acquiring marks or blemishes. As of today, while most 2000 Jefferson nickels are worth only face value, a few outstanding examples have broken through to the high-value market. When preserved in exceptional mint condition or bearing rare die errors, these coins can fetch impressive sums at auctions or from specialized collectors. The world of coin collecting is fascinating because it reminds us that even something as small as a nickel can hold incredible stories of craftsmanship, history, and chance. It's like discovering a hidden artifact from modern civilization, a symbol of how something so ordinary can become extraordinary through time, rarity, and human curiosity. So the next time you get change back from a purchase, take a closer look at that small 5-cent coin. It could be the unassuming treasure that connects you to America's minting legacy, a bridge between the everyday and the rare. Remember, numismatics isn't just about money, it's about discovery. It's about history whispering from your palm, reminding you that every coin has a past, every scratch has a story, and every year holds the possibility of something remarkable. Among those possibilities, the United States of America 2000 Jefferson nickel Monticello 5 cents stands as a quiet legend, a coin that represents precision, imperfection, and beauty all at once. And while it may appear simple, for the right collector, this small piece of metal could hold a big surprise, with a value reaching up to $10,000. Welcome to World Information HD. In today's video, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of American coinage, a place where history, mystery, and hidden fortune collide. We'll uncover the story behind one of the most interesting and surprisingly valuable coins ever minted in modern America, the 2011 D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime. You might think a 10-cent coin can't be worth much, but after hearing what makes this particular dime so special, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. Let's travel back to 2011, a time when the United States Mint continued its long tradition of producing the Roosevelt dime, a small but powerful symbol of America's history. Named after President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the dime honors his legacy and his tireless efforts to help the American people during the Great Depression and World War II. But not all Roosevelt dimes are the same, and the 2011 D Mint Mark dime carries some hidden surprises that have made it a star among collectors and treasure hunters alike. Now, let's start with a bit of background. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. It was a tribute to Roosevelt's work with the March of Dimes Foundation, which helped fight polio, the very disease that ultimately claimed his life. Since its release, this coin has been produced every single year, but the 2011 D Mint dime stands out for several unique reasons. The D Mint mark means that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado, one of the most active mints in the U.S. during the modern era. The Denver Mint has been responsible for producing billions of coins, but among all those struck, there are always a few rare and unexpected errors or varieties that collectors crave. And that's exactly what happened with some of the 2011 D Roosevelt dimes. So what makes this tiny silver-colored coin so fascinating? To begin with, the 2011 D dime is made of a copper nickel-clad composition, not actual silver. Its diameter is just 17.9 millimeters, and it weighs about 2.27 grams. On the obverse, or front side, you'll find the familiar image of President Franklin D. Roosevelt facing left, with the word, Liberty, inscribed to the left and the national motto, In God We Trust, below. The date 2011 appears near his neck, and just above it, the small, D Mint mark lets us know it was made in Denver. On the reverse side, the design remains consistent with all Roosevelt dimes since 1946, a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch representing peace on the left, and an oak branch representing strength and independence on the right. Around the top of the coin reads, United States of America, while E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many one, sits proudly in the center. At the bottom, you'll find the coin's denomination, 1 dime. Now, here's where things get interesting. Although the 2011 D Roosevelt dime was produced in massive quantities, over 1.6 billion pieces, certain examples have shown striking errors or unusual features that drastically increase their value. Errors can happen during the minting process, and sometimes these mistakes create coins that collectors are willing to pay thousands of dollars for. One of the rarest varieties of the 2011 D dime includes off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned because the coin wasn't perfectly centered when struck. Another known error is the die clash, which happens when the coin dies. The metal stamps used to imprint the design collide without a planchet, blank coin, between them. This leaves ghostly images of the coin's reverse design on its front side or vice versa. These errors, especially in mint state condition, make the 2011 D dime incredibly desirable. But there's more. Some collectors have reported discovering double-die obverse examples, where the inscriptions or details of Roosevelt's face appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment in the die. Although subtle, these variations can fetch significant premiums in auctions, especially when authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC. Condition, of course, plays a huge role in determining value. A 2011 D dime that has been heavily circulated might only be worth its face value, 10 cents. But an uncirculated example, one that still gleams with its original luster and shows no signs of wear, can be worth a surprising amount to the right buyer. Graded coins, especially those rated MS 67 or higher, have fetched hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on rarity and demand. What makes this coin even more fascinating is the story behind modern minting precision. You see, in today's high-tech world, minting errors are much rarer than they were decades ago. Machines now operate with extreme accuracy, and quality control is strict. That's why any noticeable imperfection on a modern coin like the 2011 D dime instantly attracts collectors' attention. Because it shouldn't exist at all. There's also the beauty of history attached to every dime. While the Roosevelt dime may not be made of silver anymore, its symbolism still shines bright. It's a small token of American resilience, leadership, and dedication to progress. Every time you hold a Roosevelt dime, you're holding a piece of history, a continuation of the legacy that began almost 8 decades ago. The value of the 2011 D dime doesn't just come from its metal content or rarity. It also comes from its story, the possibility that something so common could hide extraordinary worth. Imagine finding one of these rare dimes in your change from a grocery store, in a coin jar at home, or tucked away in an old drawer. You might think it's just another dime, but for collectors, it could be a treasure waiting to be discovered. Let's take a moment to appreciate what coin collectors love most: the thrill of the hunt. Numismatists, or coin enthusiasts, spend years studying the fine details of coins like this one. They look for doubled lettering, misplaced mint marks, unusual die cracks, or misstrikes, anything that sets a coin apart from the billions of others. The 2011 D Roosevelt dime has inspired that same kind of dedication because it's a modern coin that still carries the potential for surprises. Collectors often send these coins to professional grading services to determine their authenticity and grade. The better the condition, the higher the grade, and the higher the potential value. Even small imperfections can make a big difference. A dime graded MS-60 might sell for just a few dollars, while an MS-68 example could sell for hundreds or more if it displays a rare error or exceptional eye appeal. There's also the emotional and historical value, something that goes beyond money. Many collectors see the Roosevelt dime as a symbol of American determination, representing how the country rebuilt itself after hardship. That story alone gives the coin a meaning deeper than its monetary worth. In coin collecting, it's often said that rarity plus demand equals value. The 2011 D dime might not seem rare at first glance, but the select few that feature unique minting errors or remain in pristine condition have become the stuff of modern legend. Online auction houses and coin forums have documented sales where these coins fetch astonishing prices, showing that even a small 10-cent coin can hold incredible value when it stands out from the rest. So next time you go through your loose change, take a closer look. That little dime with AD beneath the date might not be ordinary. It might be one of the rare survivors from 2011 that collectors are searching for, one of those special coins that bridge the gap between everyday currency and true collectible treasure. Who knows? The next time you empty your pockets or roll up some change, you could be holding a coin that's worth far more than 10 cents. Hidden treasures still exist, sometimes right under our noses. The 2011 D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime is proof of that. It's a reminder that in the world of coins, anything is possible, and even the smallest pieces of metal can tell the biggest stories. So keep your eyes open, your coin jars close, and your curiosity alive, because one lucky discovery could change everything. And just to make you even more amazed, the highest recorded value ever paid for a rare and pristine 2011 D Mint Mark Roosevelt dime reached an incredible $9,833.